Bones, Sulu, or Chekhov? Which Star Trek TOS icon should Strange New Worlds Season 3 introduce? Star Trek Strange New Worlds has become a bold experiment in the franchise, simultaneously honoring the classic original series while reimagining Starfleet through modern storytelling. Seasons 1 and 2 gave us a younger Spock, glimpses of James T. Kirk, and even Uhura, Chapel, and M'Benga in their formative years. Season 3, now highly anticipated, raises an irresistible question: which other members of the Star Trek, the original series crew, might beam aboard? Three candidates stand out: Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy, LT, Hikaru Sulu, and Ensign Pavel Chekhov. Each brings a distinct personality and fan legacy. But which of these icons would make the best addition to Strange New Worlds Season 3? Let's break down the case for each. The case for Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy. Few characters in Trek embody both humanity and humor as perfectly as Bones. Played originally by DeForest Kelley, McCoy wasn't just the ship's doctor. He was the conscience of the Enterprise, the grumpy foil to Spock, and Kirk's steadfast confidant. His sarcastic, "I'm a doctor, not a" one-liners became legendary, but beneath the gruff exterior was warmth and loyalty that grounded the crew. Why Bones works in Strange New Worlds? The series already thrives on character-driven storytelling. McCoy's introduction would inject tension and humor in equal measure. Imagine him sparring with Spock in his early days, long before their friendship and mutual respect blossomed. Bones' skepticism of Vulcan logic would contrast beautifully with the emotional complexity Strange New Worlds has already given Spock. Bones could also clash with Dr. M'Benga, who currently serves as the Enterprise's CMO. This raises fascinating dramatic stakes. Would Bones arrive as a junior medical officer under M'Benga's command? Would their philosophies of medicine diverge? M'Benga's darker, war-torn perspective contrasts with Bones' more humanistic, sometimes cantankerous bedside manner. Their differences could fuel a season-long subplot about ethics and medicine during Starfleet's frontier era. Potential story arcs for Bones. The early days of a legend. We've never seen McCoy before Kirk recruited him. Strange New Worlds could explore his pre-Starfleet career, perhaps even the personal struggles that led him to seek a new life among the stars. A reluctant Starfleet officer, Bones was famously uncomfortable in space, preferring earthbound comforts. Seeing him grapple with that discomfort would add depth. The beginnings of the Spock-Bones dynamic. Their banter is iconic. A young McCoy learning to tolerate and occasionally admire Spock's Vulcan logic could deliver classic Trek humor with fresh energy. The risk of bringing in Bones. Because McCoy is so defined by his friendship with Kirk and his verbal sparring with Spock, there's a risk he feels incomplete without those relationships fully formed. If not handled carefully, Bones might come across as a watered-down version of himself. Still, for many fans, Bones embodies the emotional heart of the TOS crew. His presence could strengthen the bridge between Strange New Worlds and the original 5-year mission. The case for LT, Hikaru Sulu. Sulu, played by George Takei, is one of Trek's quiet triumphs. A helmsman with charm, professionalism, and surprising depth, he became an early symbol of representation, an Asian character portrayed as capable, respected, and adventurous at a time when such roles were rare. Why Sulu works in Strange New Worlds. Sulu's versatility makes him a natural fit for the rotating spotlight episode Strange New Worlds excels at. He's a character with skills beyond piloting, botany, swordsmanship, leadership, and the writers could easily expand his backstory. Unlike Bones, who is already entangled in Spock and Kirk's legacy, Sulu comes with more creative freedom. In canon, Sulu was serving on the Enterprise by the time Kirk took command. But before that, he could have plausibly served under Pike in some capacity, perhaps not yet as helmsman, but as a junior science officer or flight specialist. Season 3 could explore his training days and show how he evolved into the confident officer Kirk later relied upon. Potential story arcs for Sulu. A botanist in space. Fans often forget that Sulu's first TOS assignment was in the sciences, particularly botany. Strange New Worlds could reframe him as a Renaissance officer whose passions enrich his Starfleet career. The swashbuckling Sulu. His iconic fencing scene in The Naked Time made him unforgettable. A Strange New Worlds episode showcasing his combat training, or even a holodeck-style fantasy sequence, could nod to that legacy. The foundation of leadership. Later Trek canon sees Sulu become captain of the Excelsior. Planting early seeds of that ambition and leadership would add resonance. The risk of bringing in Sulu. Sulu was underused in TOS, often relegated to background duty at the helm. A poorly written Strange New Worlds appearance could repeat this mistake, giving him a token cameo instead of meaningful development. The show would need to commit to fleshing him out. Still, Sulu represents a chance for Strange New Worlds to enrich a beloved character who never got his full due in the 1960s series. The case for Ensign Pavel Chekhov. Introduced in TOS Season 2 and played by Walter Koenig, Chekhov was the youthful face of Starfleet. His Beatles-style haircut and enthusiasm were meant to appeal to younger viewers, but his character grew into more than comic relief. Chekhov embodied youthful optimism, nationalism, and bravery. Why Chekhov works in Strange New Worlds? Chekhov is unique because he represents Starfleet's next generation. As an ensign, he was inexperienced, ambitious, and eager to prove himself. Strange New Worlds has already explored cadets like Uhura. Adding Chekhov would continue this theme of showing how raw recruits grow into the legends we know. His Russian identity also carried cultural weight during the Cold War, symbolizing Trek's utopian vision of a unified Earth. In 2025, this aspect could be re-explored with nuance, reflecting modern conversations about geopolitics and unity. Potential story arcs for Chekhov. The eager cadet. Chekhov could be introduced as a bright but naive officer still learning Starfleet protocol. His mistakes could create both humor and drama. Hero in the making. Strange New Worlds could show Chekhov's first moments of true bravery, setting up the arc that leads to his place on Kirk's bridge. A reframing of legacy. TOS sometimes leaned into stereotypes with Chekhov's Russian pride. A modern take could give him richer cultural depth, exploring his heritage without caricature. The risk of bringing in Chekhov, because Chekhov didn't appear until later in TOS, inserting him into Strange New Worlds risks timeline contradictions. Canon sticklers might argue it doesn't fit. There's also the challenge of making him more than comic relief, since that was often his role in TOS. Still, Chekhov offers something the others don't. A glimpse at the future of Starfleet through the eyes of its youngest, most idealistic officers. Which one should Season 3 choose? All three characters have strong cases, but the choice ultimately comes down to tone and narrative goals. Bones would add emotional depth, humor, and conflict, particularly in relation to Spock and M'Benga. Sulu offers versatility and the opportunity to finally give a TOS icon the spotlight he deserved. Chekhov brings youthful optimism and a thematic link to Starfleet's next generation. If Strange New World Season 3 wants to lean into its ensemble-driven drama and interpersonal tension, Bones is the best choice. His dynamic with Spock could mirror but not overshadow the Kirk-Spock-Bones triad, giving fans